All right, this is the I Am Rapaport podcast, and you are now listening to the Robert De Niro line of the week. The Robert De Niro line of the week is from probably my all-time favorite movie. It's a fixture of the I Am Rapaport podcast. It is Raging Bull. I mean, this movie to me is absolute perfection as far as I'm concerned. It's just a masterpiece. Everything directorially, visually, sound design, set, wardrobe, performance, everything. And there's so many fucking lines, so many scenes I could literally do the whole movie. That's something I want to do on the I Am Rapaport podcast, is do an all Raging Bull episode. That would be a dream come true. But this is one of my favorite lines. It's when when Jake LaMotta, played by Robert De Niro, goes over and he visits the Tommy, who's the gangster, and he's getting ready to have a fight, and he doesn't like them because he thinks his wife is fucking around with them, and they're gangsters and wise guys, and he although he's an animal, Jake LaMotta in the movie Raging Bull, he doesn't like to associate with these people because he sort of thinks they're beneath him. So he reluctantly goes over there, and they ask him about his fight. He's going to fight a guy named DeNiro, who earlier his wife had called pretty and said he's good looking, which irritated him. And that's sort of one of the influences in my early relationships. I took on some of the characteristics of Jake LaMotta, and some of my girlfriends didn't appreciate that because I actually started behaving like I was Jake LaMotta, not with the beating, but just sort of the attitude. I never hit a woman, but the attitude of just sort of. Anyway, I don't want to talk myself into a corner here. But this is the I Am Rapaport podcast. The De Niro line of the week. He says to Tommy, I'll get you both in the ring. I'll give you both the fucking beat, and you can both go fuck each other. I'm going to open this hole like this. Please excuse my French. Because Tommy says to him, now this Gennaro kid, when you fight him, can I bet money on him? And he says, I'm going to open this hole like this. Please excuse my French. I'm going to make him suffer. I'm going to make his mother wish she never had him. Make him into dog meat. He's a nice kid. He's a pretty kid too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I got a problem. I don't know if I should fuck him or fight him. Right there, sheer brilliance. I don't know if I should fuck him or fight him. I guarantee you, this line. I can't guarantee, but I always want to know: was that line written? He's a pretty kid. I mean, I don't know. I got a problem if I should fuck him or fight him. And then Tommy goes, "You crazy? Fuck him or fight him? If you really love that fucker, just watch out." And then Jake LaMotta says, by who? Gennaro. You mean you want me to get you to fuck him? And then Salvi, played by what's his name? Frank Vincent, famous for Get Your Shine Box. He says, me? He says, yeah. He says, no, I don't want him to fuck me. He says, well, I could easily do that. How you gonna do that? Because I get you both in the ring. I'll give you both a fucking beat, and you could fuck each other. Or I'll get full of blood. And Jake says, hey, you're used to that. But the highlight, I mean, there's a few highlights. That scene has so much tension in it, so much going on. There's so much undertone and so much shit. But the highlight of it is, please excuse my French. I'm gonna make him suffer. I'm gonna make his mother wish she never had him. I'm gonna turn him into dog beat. He's nice. He's a nice kid. He's a pretty kid too. I mean, I don't know. I got a problem if I should fuck him or fight him. That is the Robert De Niro line of the week from probably my all-time favorite film, Raging Bull. American Giant sponsors the I Am Rapaport podcast. Go to American-Giant.com. Check it out. T-shirts, sweatshirts, American made, American manufactured. Really good quality, soft, rugged, hoodies, sweatpants, all of it. American-Giant.com. American-Giant.com. All right, this is the I Am Rapaport podcast. And this is Michael Rapaport, and I am in here with my guest today, Eric Pincus, who are you, Eric? He's a basketball. Are you some sort of savant? Like you know shit. Like you're a basketball guy. Like you could pull the mic a little bit closer to your face. There you go. You know all kind of shit, but you work at the LA Times as the Lakers
I cover the Lakers. I do the blog for the Lakers, the LA Times.
It's always good. Don't you feel good when I have you as a guest and I don't know what the fuck exactly you do? No, I know what you, but it's better you could articulate it because I know you do a couple of things.
And I also write for basketballinsiders.com.
Right.
I am a senior writer there, and mostly I focus on the salary cap and the salaries and all the rules and what the heck is going on behind the scenes.
Okay, good. Because the agenda of this segment with you, Eric, because I've read your stuff, is I want to do the salary cap for dumb fucks. Okay, now I consider myself a very knowledgeable basketball fan. I don't think I'm very knowledgeable in terms of the salary stuff and some of the, you know, the nerdy sort of stuff. And I don't mean nerdy in a bad way, but my main question and my main agenda for having you is salary cap for dumb fucks. What is the NBA salary cap in a nutshell? Like, is there a number? Explain it.
Okay, yeah, there is a number, and I got to say that when you hear people talk, a lot of them don't know the rules. A lot of the analysts on TV, some of the experts do. The ones who's that's what they cover, right? But the casual guys, in fact, there are guys on NBA teams who I talk to who don't know the salary cap.
Players.
No, executives. I mean, not every executive of the team. Some of them are just there to analyze players,
right?
And they don't know a damn thing about all the rules.
Okay.
And they rely on some teams rely on lawyers who have been with the team for years to handle it. Some guys have salary cap guys. Some GMs are the salary cap guy. Some GMs I've talked to, I've had to explain the rules to them.
That's great. That's awesome. And you're going to name those names today.
I won't name the names, but
name names, Eric.
I mean, they have good people.
Fuck that shit. I want you to name names and throw these people.
Well, I will say, and I actually, and Andy Rose was right with the Clippers. I was wrong. We had an argument and a debate over one of the rules regarding Sean Livingston, and my understanding was different than his, and he's someone who's really knowledgeable. He's no longer with the Clippers now.
Right.
He was the president. He was someone who really knew his, I guess we're on a podcast, I can say he knew his shit, right?
You can say
there you go.
You
I can't write that
he
stuff.
knew
Wow.
his fucking shit. You could say however you want to phrase it. You could say that, but you seem like I know you got kids,
right?
So you don't want to. You don't want to put that filter.
Yeah,
I have
that's
kids,
a dollar in the
but
jar.
they fucking have heard it all.
So he knew it. There are other GMs who I've. And this was, and I know that Mitch Kupchak knows what he's doing extremely well. I did catch him on a salary cap mistake.
Faux pas.
At one of the press conferences, he was talking about a technical thing. We're not going to get too into it without glazing eyes. But basically, he thought one thing was tied to one thing, and afterwards I came up to him and said, they changed that in the last CBA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the salary cap is basically a limit on team spending, but there's different kinds of salary caps. The NBA has a soft one, okay?
Okay.
The NFL, of which I'm not really an expert on, has a hard one. Where a hard one means, I think hockey does as well. You can't go over it no matter what.
We don't even go with those brain dead freaks in hockey and NHL.
Point is, you can't spend $1 more. In the NBA, you can.
There'll be a number, and you can't spend
period.
All right, okay. But in the
soft,
NBA, it's soft. So what is the tip? Because I was reading your article. What is the let's just say the Knicks.
Right.
What is the Knicks salary cap? Like, explain that to me. What? Because for me as a Knicks fan, they'd be like, the salary cap. We traded Amari. They got for the salary cap. And now Phil Jackson, he can work his magic because they have room in the salary cap. And my whole thing right now as a Knicks fan is, I don't give a fuck. You can have unlimited money as a Knicks fan. My fear as a Knicks fan is who the hell would want to even kind of come to play there. But that's a whole other thing. We're dealing with dollars and cents.
Right,
one of the things with the I Am Rapaport podcast, Eric, I'll tell you, is that we don't fact check.
Okay.
Now
you just go with it.
I'll say anything. Okay. But that's why I got you here, who's a statistician, a numbers guy, who can break it down. And I'm not saying you, and I want you to fact check for the dumb fucks that possibly could be listening. Not that I say all my listeners are dumb fucks, but you understand what I'm saying.
No, I understand.
Break it down to me.
This is complicated stuff, and who knows this stuff? That's why I'm here. That's why I have a job.
Yes.
Is that someone has to figure this stuff out. Now, the Knicks, they didn't trade Amari. They bought him out. They actually paid him about $21 million this year.
To leave,
yeah. They're paying about $80.6 million in salary for this past junk of a season, right? Second worst team, were they, in the league, right? They were terrible. They paid $80.6 million.
Well, because it's New York, they're the first. Even if their record wasn't the first.
That's before tax, right?
$80 million.
Call it $81 million, right?
And 30 of it went to Carmelo. How much did Carmelo make last year?
Carmelo made 22.
That's great.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Amari, they have Bargnani making about 11.5. Their money is not well invested. Let's be honest. But that's what happens. Now the cap itself was 63. So clearly they're over the cap, right? Because they're at 81, the cap is $63 million. Okay. So they're limited in what they can do. Not only that, they're a tax team. There's a threshold where if you're so far up over the cap, like there's kind of a sweet spot. You can be over the cap, but not too much. And if you get over, then you're in this tax area. Now you start to owe big dollars to the league. There's limits in what you can do.
Now, when you say, where does that come from? Revenue?
Yeah, well, the team has to cut a check to the league, so
but does it come from the popcorn? The amount of popcorn they're being sold.
They sell tickets, right? They get their share of TV money.
T-shirts.
They have their
jerseys,
wherever they're getting their money. There's the national TV deal. Everyone gets a cut. There's
and
a local TV deal.
Okay,
everyone gets a equal cut. Like the Knicks in their huge market get the same cut as the Milwaukee Bucks from the national TV deal.
Okay.
Now we could debate that that's not right or whatever. That's a whole different story. But that's the truth. Same with Lakers. They are a bigger draw, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? Do everyone want to go watch the Wolves? Maybe if you like Wiggins, but the point is that Lakers with Kobe are a bigger draw.
There's 6 people that say yes, I want to watch Wiggins. There's only 6 of them.
But I like Wiggins.
I like Wiggins too, but as far as watching them,
as far as the Wolves and
the Wolves themselves, like
maybe if they were good when they had KG, they were pretty.
When they had KG, they were cool. But even then, it's like watch. What am I going to watch?
So. Each team also has their local TV deal. So the Lakers have a huge TV deal. Knicks have a huge TV deal. All right.
So they from their local TV deals, the bigger cities will make more money.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's a form of revenue.
Oh yeah, and the idea behind this salary cap is that you have your big markets, right, and then you have your small markets, and it's not fair. And I'm making air quotes.
Yes.
For big markets to be able to just outspend and be better because they're outspending all these small markets. So the idea is to try to equalize the playing field.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't necessarily work in all aspects, but it helps. It helps so that we did see a lot of smaller market teams. Bucks were a playoff team this year.
Right.
The Lakers were not. The Knicks were not. Some of the big markets, it's not just about, it's about how you spend your money, but they put these restrictions. They clamp down. So the more money you spend, the more restricted you are. So that's kind of the goal of the salary cap, is to make sure that you can't just, number one, pay whoever you want, whatever you want.
Right.
And try to equalize the playing field. So
so the Knicks. So
Yes.
go into the Knicks. So everybody, you were saying Phil can finally work his magic. The Knicks finally have money to fuck around with. They have money to play with.
Right, they do.
What do we have specifically? What can the Knicks offer, and who to who?
Okay, well,
and give me names like as far as free agents, because the Knicks are saying free agents. We have money. How much do the Knicks have?
They're going from.
And who would be dumb enough to come back?
Well, let's start with how much they have. Okay, the team has roughly about 32 to $40 million in commitments next year.
Okay.
So the cap is going to go up every year. It goes up a little bit, and we could talk about how it's going to jump up a lot very soon. But it's going to jump up from 63 to about 67.
Okay.
All right. That upper number is going to be about 90, give or take. So as far as
I got you.
So the window, teams are going to have roughly 67 to 90 in that range to spend worrying about tax and all that stuff. Okay. So the Knicks, though, they've got Carmelo, they've got Calderon, they've got Tim Hardaway Jr., a couple other guys. They've got their 4th pick, right? So that's about, you got to count that money in. You put it all together, they've got about $28 million to spend.
28?
$28 million.
$28 million to spend for next year.
For this coming season. This summer, starting in July, which is right around the corner. Right after the draft, you go into free agency. They'll have about $28 million to spend. Now, each player, depending on how long they've been in the league, has a different max contract.
So a rookie can get what?
Well, a player with up to 6 years of experience. Okay, so you've been in the league 6 years. Whether you're a rookie, someone who's played for 6 years.
0 to 6.
0 to 6. The max is probably going to be about $15 million, roughly.
And who are some of the 0 to 6 players? Is Russell Westbrook in his 6th year?
Well, Russell Westbrook, he's under contract. He's not a free agent, so.
No, but I'm just saying in terms of like, because you take for granted like 6 years in the league. Like Steph Curry's like what? It must be like his sixth or 7th.
Let's see. Curry just finished his 5th. This is his 6th year.
Okay.
And
so Steph Curry can only make at the most. Not only, but the most he can make is $15 million next year.
Right. And then Russell Westbrook, he's going into his 7th. This is his 7th year.
Okay.
So he goes into the 7 to 9 bracket, which is middle tier. And then there's guys who've been in the league for 10 years or more. So it's just basically 3 tiers. 6 years or less, 7 to 9, 10.
So it's $15 million, and then what's the second bracket?
Well, the numbers should break down, and we won't know this for until July, right? The beginning of July.
They're going to change them?
It's a complicated formula. They look at how much
shit. You know, I could tell already why people don't even try to take on explaining this fucking.
No. Basically, you take all the money that the league made and you figure out what the revenue
left over.
What's the revenue?
All right. So with the Knicks specifically, if you had to gun to your head, who would you say the Knicks are going to draft in the 4th pick, and tell me 3 people that are going to wind up on Knicks next year?
Okay.
2 free agents or trades and 1 draft pick.
Well,
who do you think they're going to pick?
All right, well, it's tricky. What I've heard...
We don't have to put a gun to your head. Put a water gun to your head.
I've heard that they are looking at trading that pick and trying to move down a little bit. I know they get like a guy named Trey Lyles from Kentucky. Okay, he's someone who's probably they can get somewhere in the 10 to 14, 15 range. So they're going to explore that. So... Is there a guy they're in love with? Well, I think that they love one of the big guys, right? Towns and Okafor. They're not going to be there at 4. They have a couple of point guards, D'Angelo Russell and Emmanuel Mudiay.
I saw him play.
Right,
I actually coached him in a high school game.
No kidding.
Under Armour. I mean, he won't remember it, but I knew he was special.
I saw him last week, super athletic. The kid comes in. I don't know if you remember Kendall Gill.
Yes.
Has Kendall Gill's body at 19. Like same size.
He's got that, and he's a point guard. He's kind of a physical point guard.
Right.
A tall, physical
he's
point guard.
He's going to overpower people, and they can't shoot. And when
you say he can't shoot, how? Now, I'm not being this in a challenging way. How can you say he can't shoot when the last time we saw him play was in high school?
Well, I've seen him do 2 workouts.
You're saying he can't shoot. Like you because these workouts you watch these guys and you could see.
I saw Jahlil Okafor from Duke, right, shoot threes at the end of the workout with the Lakers better than Emmanuel Mudiay shot threes.
Are you serious?
That's the truth. And I didn't expect it. I didn't go in there thinking, you're not going to see Okafor shoot threes in a game.
Right. But for shits and giggles, if he needs to have a shooting contest, he might beat Emmanuel Mudiay.
Lakers run the same workout for everybody. It doesn't matter if they're big or small. They put the guys through the same thing. And the end of it is they're shooting around like the horn, right? They're shooting around. And so we get a look. I saw Mudiay is strong. He's going to just push past guys. The things that he can do. And guys can learn how to shoot. So I just think in the first year, he's probably going to shoot 42% from the field floor in a good situation. It could be worse, but eventually maybe he can shoot. D'Angelo Russell now, he can shoot. I saw him shoot and I'm like, okay, this kid's got a great stroke. You can tell right away, this kid's got a great shot. Now the Knicks can go for one of those 2 guys, but again, they have a shot at one of those 4 guys, Okafor, Towns, Russell, and Mudiay, but probably the big guys are gone, and probably one of those guards are gone.
Right.
Do they want Mudiay? Mudiay has good size for the triangle. He's a possibility. I don't know if Phil wants him or not. He's someone who's a possibility. Another guy is Justice Winslow.
Right.
From Duke, small forward. Another guy, a wild card is Kristaps Porzingis from Latvia, right?
We don't have good luck with these guys from Latvia because they don't come.
Well, he might be.
We
he's
drafted
coming.
French guys. They never show up.
He may be your next Andrew Bargnani.
Yeah, okay. I can't get excited about this.
Exactly. Now he
French
also
guy. Is he French? Where's this guy? Latvia?
Latvia
means nothing to me. I don't even know where that is.
It's a country.
Is that a new place?
They probably was part of a bigger place that split.
Right. These countries, I don't know. You send them a ticket, they might show up. They might go to Vegas. I don't know.
Best case is he's a Andrei Kirilenko, Dirk Nowitzki hybrid. Okay, a rangy guy.
Got it.
Narrow shoulders, so he's not ever going to be a big center guy. But anyway.
What about Frank the Tank?
Frank the Tank?
Do you think the Tank is going to wind up being an efficient? He's so damn slow.
I think the Knicks would like to have a guy like him.
Because he could spread the floor.
But I don't think they'd like to have a guy like him at 4. So that would be a trade down option. Another guy to think about is Willie Cauley-Stein. And I know that Phil Jackson...
I like him.
Yeah.
But not as my first pick.
Well... What I like about Cauley-Stein is that, first of all, he's really 7 feet tall. He's big, okay? He can guard defensively multiple positions as good as anyone at that position. If you throw him on a point guard on a switch, he's not going to get destroyed. Now, he's not going to guard a point guard.
Yeah.
2 guards, same things. He can guard 4 or 5. You're going to put him on the other team's best big. And I know Phil Jackson looks at him as kind of like a potentially next Dennis Rodman type.
And I think New York alike, he's Jewish. Stein, Willie Cauley-Stein, I have to assume.
Very Jewish name.
Very Jewish, and New York will embrace that. Because, a lot of Jewish people are in New York City. Willie Cauley-Stein, he doesn't look like a conventional Jew, but with the name Stein, he must be Jewish.
He's someone who I could see the Knicks, but again, that might be someone maybe you could trade down a little. So they're going to look at that. And if they could get a veteran, a good player, So
Like a who? A LaMarcus?
no, not in trade. It'd have to be somebody on a team who's available. And then you start to get into, well, the who's, and that's name a player who's unhappy or in a bad situation or in a losing situation. Okay, and I'll throw out a name, and I'm not saying this is likely. Let's say you want Roy Hibbert. Okay. Roy Hibbert from the Pacers. They've talked about how they want to move on. And they want to go into a smaller thing. Now Phil might want to go with the size and the triangle and knows how to use Hibbert, he can shoot free throws.
I like Roy.
Yeah, now Hibbert's not a great rebounder, but whatever. You put him. So now let's say you call up Indiana and you make a deal with them and you move down to their pick. I think they're 14th. No, they're 11th, right? Something like 11th. So now you get the 11th pick. You get Roy Hibbert. You trade them. Whatever. You trade them your pick, and it's complicated, but they can make it work. It might have to wait till July, but you can do something like that. All right. So now you've got Roy Hibbert, $15 million, but we said they have $28 million. Now they only have about 23 to spend. It would change. Numbers would change. Let's say they have 20. They still have some money to spend. They could still get a good player. They might even be able to get up to a Greg Monroe type player.
Right.
But you've got Hibbert. You don't need Monroe anymore. But you still have spending power. But now you've got a center. You've got the 11th pick. You get Trey Lyles. Let's say now you got your power forward and you got Carmelo. And so now you spend $8 million, $10 million on a point guard, and you wait a year, and now other players become available. You be as good as you can. There's no one, and I guess here's the best way to look at it. Dallas Mavericks a few years back, they broke it up. They won a championship. They let Tyson Chandler leave, went to the Knicks, right? All that, and they went and said, okay, we're gonna have cap room. We're gonna go spend, and they went to go spend and went after they wanted Darren Williams, who was really good at the time. They wanted Dwight Howard. He ended up staying in Orlando a year, got traded, and they ended up with O.J. Mayo.
Right.
Okay, that was their big haul. Okay, they were bad. Next year they got Monte Ellis. Okay,
right.
The year after that, now they've got Chandler Parsons. They got Tyson Chandler back, and they didn't have a great team, but they were better. And you say, okay, in year 3, they had a team that made the playoffs, a good team, imperfect, but whatever. Okay,
right.
It's a 3-year. You got to look at it like a 3-year contest.
3-year plan.
Yeah, and so this is year 1 for the Knicks.
Right.
It's year 1 for the Lakers.
You know that Knicks fans, you're saying. I understand why you're saying it's year 1.
About a 3-year plan.
No, but but we already went through 1 year with this regime. So, but now we got. I know, I understand, but I just want to clarify to the Knicks fans. It's year one. It's year 1 where we have
the
shit to do.
Right.
But this year,
the first year,
was like 1 year. But you know what?
It was flushing the toilet.
It was flushing the toilet. But do you know what the mental strain was like 6?
Yeah,
that was 6 years.
I covered the Lakers. I covered them winning 21 games. Every single day.
I don't.
You see what I'm saying?
If you think you're going to get compassion,
the point is that
from me as a Knicks fan, I covered the Lakers. It was no, you guys haven't been there. You haven't been through anything. I cannot believe that Laker fans are trying to compare themselves to Knicks fans. You guys have banners and a new fucking stadium, and Shaq comes and people come. It works out. You don't get any sympathy. This is year after year we go through with this shit with the Knicks every year.
I hear you.
You guys have banners and rings.
I have covered the Clippers as well, and I went through decades
that too,
of that.
man. They're back too. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I don't want to hear anything. The Clippers, you have something, but that was in the past. At least they got guys. They got Blake Griffin. They got all kinds of.
Right, but when they got Blake, it took a minute, right? They got Blake,
yes,
right,
and they got
CP.
I know they
right?
can
and Blake
complain.
missed his first year, right?
Yes.
So Blake missed his first year. Second year was his rookie year. He was good. They still weren't that good.
I know.
Then they got CP3.
I know.
And they've been stagnated at where they are as is. They can't get past second round.
I know. Clippers can argue, but I've heard so many Laker fans. You don't know what it's like. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You guys, do you know what it's like? Do you know that New York? I'm a New Yorker.
Right.
The possibility of dying before I actually see the Knicks win a championship. And I'm 45. Like, I'm looking ahead 45 years from now. Like, I don't want to. This isn't the Chicago White Sox. We don't want to be sitting.
If you got 45 years, then 3 years shouldn't be a big deal.
It could happen. I mean, but it literally, like, right. it could, like, we're in that position. Like, the Knicks fans, our heads are all fucked up. That is looming. Like, we could be like those people, like the Boston Red Sox, those poor bastards.
Right, 90 whatever years.
I don't want, like, I can't die until I see them win. That's what we're dealing with here.
Right. I don't think it's that bad. They're in a position where they made so many bad choices through the years. We know this, right?
And then we made another. We just made a great choice. Somehow or another, Isaiah Thomas is back in the Garden.
Yes, but he's not having anything to do with Phil and his decisions. We don't think.
We don't think, but he got hired back. And let me ask you a question, just as a smart person. Let's say you work at the LA Times, right?
Right.
If a gentleman I'm just going to pose this out there. You can answer or not. Got fired from the LA Times, or forget fired, left the LA Times because of a sexual harassment suit that cost the LA Times $12.5 million.
Yeah.
Do you think within the next 5 years, the LA Times would be like, you know what? Come back. I mean, if you work at Starbucks and this happens, they're not going to call you back a few years later and be like, you know what? Forgive and forget. Come back and work at Starbucks.
Yeah, you're probably
only in New York.
Yeah,
only in the fucking New York. Only the Knicks.
Yeah.
All right, now let me ask you about your Lakers. First of all, what is Kobe Bryant making next year? What are the hopes for the Lakers next year?
All right, Kobe's making $25 million.
As he should.
He's the highest paid player in the league.
Next year.
Yeah. And this season too.
He made 25 this year.
23 and a half this year.
Okay.
The Lakers made a bold move in giving him this money because it actually hurts them to pay him this money because he's not a $25 million player on the court
anymore
as far as what he does on the court when you start talking about what he contributes, because he can't play the same amount of minutes. He gets hurt a lot now, but this was not about that, and we could argue this, and if you had some Laker people in here, they'd some get up in arms about this. The Lakers gave him this money because they wanted to impress upon whoever else, the next star, this is how we treat our guys. Okay. While the Miami Heat are nickel and diming and asking Dwayne Wade to take less money, and some of these teams are Tim Duncan's getting less money, right? Kevin Garnett took less money. These guys who are taking less money, Lakers are going the opposite direction. We say, yeah, the teams are asking you, the biggest stars, the ones who really bring people in the seats, we're going to pay our guy, and we want you to see the next guy. When you come in here, this is how we're going to treat you as well.
Who makes these decisions for the Lakers? Is it Mitch Kupchak? Is it
Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak? Okay.
Jim Buss.
Now, Dr. Buss passed. Okay.
Right.
The way he operated is he let the basketball people make the decisions, but he got involved on the final call, and every so often he would disagree. But for the most part, he went with what Mitch Kupchak would do, and before that, Jerry West. Every so often they'd disagree. Jim Buss is in that same position where he's involved, but Mitch makes most of the calls. Jeannie Buss and Jim Buss were both on board for paying Kobe Bryant because from a business perspective,
he deserves it.
Right.
I mean, you could say he doesn't deserve it. Now, I am a Kobe Bryant supporter. I think that someone who has done what Kobe Bryant has done, he deserves to be paid.
Right.
Period.
It hurt their flexibility and their ability to spend right now this summer.
Right.
Because if they're paying him $15 million, they have 10 more to spend. But that's the choice they made.
And Kobe's not going to be like, you ain't coming to Kobe and be like, hey, Kobe, can you take a salary cut? Like that conversation.
It doesn't work like that. It doesn't. Once you're paid a guaranteed money, that's locked in.
So what do you guys have to look forward to? You got misery next year?
No, well, I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team next year, but it depends on they have the spending power. They have roughly $22.5 million to spend. They're going to have the number 2 pick, right? So let's say they get this kid Okafor, and if they can convince LaMarcus Aldridge to come, now you've got Okafor at center, Aldridge, and you got Julius Randle off the bench, okay? That's a nice front court right there. You've got Kobe, you got Jordan Clarkson, this kid, and they got about like $5-6 million to spend on get a vet point guard, get a vet small forward.
Is Rajon coming to the Lakers?
If they can get that and get Rondo for $4 or $5 million, and he wants to come for that, and you've got Rondo, Kobe, with Clarkson off the bench, find a small forward, maybe Nick Young. Maybe they trade Nick Young, get someone else.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
But the point is that now suddenly that's a team that is a competitive team, and that's a fun team. Will all that happen? Honestly, it's up to LaMarcus Aldridge what he wants. But now you start going down the list. What if Aldridge doesn't come? I don't think Marc Gasol's coming. He and his brother, Pau, didn't really end on great terms with the Lakers.
He
I don't think
ain't
that
coming.
happened.
They're going to talk to each other in Spanish and some cryptic Spanish, and it ain't happening.
Right.
There's no way
Kevin Love has the shoulder. I don't see that. There's been a lot of talk.
Kevin Love's going to stay. Don't you think Kevin Love's going to stay?
I think he'll stick around.
Because of 2 reasons. Number one, it doesn't fare, like he didn't finish what he came there to do. And number 2, because the following year he'll be able to do that thing with the money, right?
So all these guys, that's another whole other question is, are these guys going to come in for the biggest, most money they can get right now, knowing that if they wait a year, they can get a crap load more?
I think Love is staying in Cleveland.
Right, but what guys might do, LeBron will probably opt out this year and take what's called a 1+1, where he'll sign for a 2-year deal. Second year is his option. So it's like insurance, right? So he'll come back basically on a 1-year deal. He'll just probably for the rest of his career just go on like 1-year deals. So he always has this power over the franchise, right? So it'll be like you can opt out, and let's say you get hurt, and now you've got that second year. It's $20-something million, and you don't opt out. Now you got that money there. So these guys might do 1-and-1s. And when a team goes to re-sign their guy, they can give them 5 years. Okay, when they go to another team, they can get 4. So there's usually like a difference of about $20-30 million in what these guys can sign for. But if these guys are signing 2-year deals, that extra year doesn't mean a thing. It doesn't hold any bearing. It's a very curious. A lot of NBA people are very curious to see how this summer goes because it's an unknown because of this big cap jump. They've never had this before in the NBA before. They've never seen the salary cap jump $20-30 million in one summer.
Is LaMarcus Aldridge the prize jewel of free agents this summer?
Well, I think it's because people think he's going to leave, and I think it's.
But who are the other free agents? Like, give me some names.
Well, Marc Gasol, a lot of people think
are
going to stick. He's going to stick around. There's the Kevin Love question.
You think that they think that Gasol's going to stick around in Memphis?
That's the assumption.
He seems like the type of guy.
He went to high school there. He grew up there when Powell was playing, right?
Like they're good. They had Golden State.
They're one of the
without
best,
that injury,
right?
What's his name?
Mike Conley and also Tony Allen.
They had him on the ropes. Let me ask you a question. So basically, you're not that excited about what's going to go on with the Lakers next year either.
Well, first of all, as a journalist, we're not supposed to get excited about any of all this stuff. We're supposed to take any emotion out the door. It would be nice when you're covering a team that it's not losing every game where the games are over before they start.
If you're looking for sympathy, Eric,
I'm just saying from writing after a while, writing the stories about draft lottery position can get a little dull.
You mean like writing about drafts like when it's December?
Right. So, I mean, from a storyline, if they're in the chase, it's much more interesting to write about. But I don't know. I mean, look, the Lakers could get all those pieces. The Knicks could get all those pieces. LaMarcus Aldridge is going to go somewhere. Marc Gasol might stick around. There are other free agents. Paul Millsap's a free agent, right? That's a nice player. I mean, we can go through the list. There are
give me
guys.
some names. Let's name drop.
Well, let's see. Brooke Lopez is a potential guy. He might opt out. He has to opt out. Let's see. I don't think Mike Dunleavy's on your list. LeBron and Kevin Love. J.R. Smith will probably be a free agent. Tyson,
I want him now. See, he should go somewhere else. I mean, if they had one and they had to give him a ring.
Yes and no. If they had the other guys there, like if you're relying on J.R. Smith, that's a problem.
Shit.
If he's the guy who's coming in, who when he gets supernova hot,
right?
So you can win, and they did this. They won a few games in the playoffs just because. So if you have Love there and all these guys, and J.R. Smith comes in and flame throws a game, and you win one game,
he'll
in the
win
finals,
you games.
Right?
He won a few games.
But if you're relying on him to be your guy, that's a different story. Tyson Chandler's a free agent. Rajon Rondo, and I'm going to miss some, but of course we said Marc Gasol. Greg Monroe is an interesting guy. I think he's going to leave. Let's see here. On the Rockets, Patrick Beverley is restricted. Roy Hibbert can opt out. I don't know if he will. He makes $16 million. I don't think I would opt out if I were him. That's my recommendation to him. DeAndre Jordan, interesting free agent.
Right.
Now,
the Clippers want him and need him.
Yes, they need him, and they can't afford not to keep him. I think he's going to stay, but he's a good player. He's a good defensive and a good dude. I think he would help. As long as you know that what you got, you have a guy who's not going to score and hit free. He can't free though. He can score on lobs,
right?
But he can't shoot away from the basket. Jeremy Lin, Laker fans.
Jeremy Lin, or as I like to call him, Jeremy Dellavedova. Dellavedova? I can't say his name
Dellavedova.
Right. I've been trying for 2 months. Dellavedova?
Yeah.
Jeremy Lin, Dellavedova, or Matthew Lin. They're interchangeable.
Interesting.
A couple of weeks ago, Dellavedova was Allen Iverson, and then he became Dellavedova.
Yeah. Dwayne Wade might opt out and leave. Goran Dragic, interesting player. I like him. He'd be great for the Knicks as well because that's a guy who can do. He'd be a great triangle.
Dwayne Wade can opt out.
I'm saying, he can opt out. Wade can opt out.
He's not going anywhere.
Well, that's the thing is that this is what Kobe did, right? Kobe got his money. Wade is looking at Kobe and saying, why did Kobe get $25 million? I took last year, Wade took 15, which is a drop down for a guy who's like the franchise guy who helped them win rings.
And he played great last year.
3 rings, right?
Yeah, and he played great.
Right. He got $15 million after all that. And next year, he wants to get his max contract.
As he should. He deserves it.
And from that perspective, that's what the Lakers' message was when they did that. Now, whether it resonates and helps them, we don't know. But Wade might leave and he's putting pressure on the Heat because he wants his money.
He should get his money.
Right. And Pat Riley, though,
he doesn't play that shit.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to end up.
There's no Pat Riley. I bet you is like a grandpa Pat or something. He's not giving away big gifts. He don't give a fuck. Yeah. Like, I know you're my grandson. take the $5, go get a Frankfurt and get out of my face. Like, he doesn't fuck around.
He didn't coddle LeBron James. That's why LeBron left.
Right.
And he did it Pat Riley's way, which, better or worse, has been successful over a very long time.
Right.
I mean, the guy's got rings with different organizations.
Coddle him with what? What did LeBron want? He wanted his friends to run. Is that true? Is that like the rumor?
Degree.
Is that the reputation? Like, that he wanted his friends to do what?
LeBron's friends are like agents, and like his agent is his best friend coming up, and he had a lot of people who were around the Cavs that were working for the Cavs or involved with the Cavs that he helped get there. So he had an entourage on some level,
right?
You know, and that's these guys. I'm not going to say who should have what or whatnot, but Pat Riley was like, no,
we don't play that shit.
So the Cavs are definitely more accommodating to what LeBron wants. Okay.
Now, what about because we're on LeBron. Is David Black going to coach the Cleveland Cavaliers next year?
Yeah,
he is. They're not going to fire him.
I mean, I can't see LeBron
letting that
doing
happen
that.
for his reputation. Right?
I don't think it looks well. I think the PR
it'll look crazy.
It look crazy. Yeah. At this point, LeBron. Don't let if they can always fire Blatt next year, right? And put Tyronn Lue as the head coach if it doesn't work out.
And
they start slow.
All of a sudden, Tyronn Lue's a commodity.
Hey, he's the highest paid assistant coach in the league.
Okay.
And he's got great experience. He's got a great reputation. Good with players. They respect him, and having respect is the difference here.
Right.
I don't think Blatt has LeBron's respect.
Right.
Let me go over a few other free agents real quick. Let's not short the list. Omer Sheik, right?
Yep.
Big center. Of course. Let's see. There's Reggie Jackson.
Okay.
Restricted though. Draymond Green, restricted. These guys are hard to get.
Draymond's not going to leave the Warriors.
Right. Jimmy Butler, restricted. All these guys.
He's a good player.
Problem is you can't really get these guys. And the way the restricted free agency works is that the Knicks can say, here's all the money we got. And the Bulls simply say, okay, well, we'll pay him that. And there's nothing that the Knicks can do.
And how do you get to be a restricted free agent versus a free agent?
All right. If you are
explain that in layman's terms, third grader who should be in the fifth grade.
Okay, after you get drafted, if you're drafted in the first round, top 30 players, okay?
Yeah.
Once your contract runs out, you're restricted. Okay.
Wait. So if you're
top 30 draft pick,
top 30 draft pick,
your first contract that you sign here lasts 4 years. Okay. When that is up, now you're restricted.
You're restricted. So that team can match.
Anything that anyone offers, there's someone that says, here, we're going to give this guy 4 years at the max. And the Bulls say, Jimmy Butler, you're staying with us for that contract.
So I don't think the Warriors are going to let go of Draymond.
No.
And I don't think the Bulls are going to let go of...
No.
Of
Jimmy Butler.
No, give me some insight to this. Thibodeau, give me something. Thibodeau gets fired. He has a great record. He's a great coach. Brings a lot of shit to Chicago. Undermanned, the Derrick Rose X Factor. We know all this stuff. He gets fired because essentially he doesn't get along with the GM. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean like Thibodeau might be a vegetarian and the GM likes to eat steak? Or is it like play this guy? Like I don't.
It's a philosophical thing in that the way that teams run, from the top down, they have a way they want to do things. And they're the authority figure. And when one guy isn't doing what they're telling them to do, they wanted these guys to rest more. Thibodeau plays his guys to the bone, right? The choices he made and his communication with management wasn't there. And so...
Is that like Harbaugh? Like it's a different sport, but like with the 49ers, like they're like, he doesn't get along with, like, because you never, like you hear they don't get along, they get along, but like it's never articulated. Like, what don't they get along? They're winning. Obviously, the 49ers suck.
Well, the winning covers up a lot of flaws, and that's why
Chicago did good, though.
Right. But I mean, how many guys in the last 5 years have been fired after like 50-win seasons? Like Lionel Hollins, right? Different philosophy. Memphis Grizzlies. You can go down the list. It happens all the time.
My thing is, the rule I'm trying to get implemented is that you're the GM, you're the big shot, the guy has 50 wins, you fire him, you coach, asshole. you got it all figured out, you coach.
Yeah, well, Flip Saunders is doing that.
Go ahead and coach, and let's see what you can do. You want to fire these guys, like, because I thought Thibodeau, I like the way he coached, and I like what he got out of that team.
Right, well... Do you
think that'll ever work out? Like this rule that I'm trying to implement? You don't think that'll ever work out?
I think it's great for...
Who's the fucking guy in Chicago? Who's the GM?
Gar Foreman.
Whoever that is.
Right.
What's his name?
Gar, G-A-R.
Gar Foreman.
Yeah.
His name is Gar Foreman. He's got a name that I've never even...
And Paxson. Jim or John Paxson? Jim, I think it is. I don't know.
Get out of here. Get him out of here, man. And why is Patrick Ewing... These are random questions. Why is my man Patrick Ewing, one of the greatest players of all time, who obviously wants to coach, relegated to doing shot charts For the Bobcats, Pat's never going to get shit. He's going to look like, you know how Bob McAdoo got the hunch over back from Miami, and he's like, we like you, Bob, but it's never going to happen. Is that going to happen to one of the greatest centers ever? Like, we like you, Pat. Like, I feel like Michael Jordan is still fucking with Pat Ewing. It's like he's always going to get one up on Pat.
At some point, either you become... It's all perceptual, and they don't see him as that material. They don't see him as head coaching. They didn't see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as head coaching material. Rick Barry is a guy who always wanted to coach.
Right.
And now you could say Rick Barry has a temperamental personality. Kareem was a little antisocial.
Yeah.
I never got that out of Pat Ewing, that he was some antisocial guy.
I just don't want to see him hunched over like the way they have Bob McAdoo on the bench down there. He's just down there. He's got reading glasses on. It's just, I don't like it. It's not a good look. It's Patrick Ewing.
I hear you. I'm not optimistic that he will be a head coach at some point.
But then they pull Fred Hoiberg out of fucking, I don't know where, and Jock Vaughn. What the fucking Jock Vaughn's a coach and Pat Ewing's doing shot charts?
Vaughn worked with the Spurs, and so basically the anyone who had any sort of connection to the Spurs got a job.
Okay,
because of their success.
Okay.
That's how Jock Vaughn got that job. Hoiberg, he's been impressive for whatever he coached at Iowa, right, at college, and for whatever it is, he's been like that guy that like people say, oh yeah, he's going to be an NBA coach. They've said the same thing about some guys. Kevin Ollie is supposed to be at some point the guy who's going to come up.
But he did well though.
Yeah. A few other free agents to talk about. Spurs, Tim Duncan.
They're signing, right?
If he retires, then they're going to go after Marc Gasol or LaMarcus Aldridge, and I wouldn't be shocked if they get one of them. But if Tim Duncan...
He's not going to retire.
But if Tim Duncan comes back, they can't really afford any of those guys.
Right.
Okay? So now they got to dump Tiago Splitter, okay?
Okay.
To he makes $8.5 million next year. So let's say the Knicks thinks Splitter is a guy who can help them. They could take him for nothing, basically, because the Spurs have to just... So in July, the Spurs can call up the Knicks and say, we'll give you Tiago Splitter and we'll give you a draft pick or whatever. And the Knicks give him a second rounder. And the next thing you know, you got a serviceable center and you're only paying $8.5 million.
No, he's good.
We said 20 whatever million. Now they have a lot more money still to spend. Go after a bigger name.
How much does Tim Duncan make a year?
He only made 10.4. I say only.
Holy
but for a guy of his caliber. So when you talk about what
Kobe's
making,
is that the most he's made?
No, he used to make like more than that, but he took less so that
10.4.
Right, that's for a guy of his caliber. That's not a lot.
Fuck,
right?
Man, that's crazy.
And that's what the message that the Lakers put out there. That's different in that we're going to pay our guys. We're going to pay our superstars what they're worth, and so they're hoping that translates into something this
because
summer.
Tim Duncan looked excellent against the Clippers in the playoffs. He looked great.
He looks great. He's fantastic still.
I mean, it's crazy.
I think he's going to come back, but
for more money.
Well, that's the thing, is that if he comes back, he's going to have to come back at a discount. They're going to have to dump Splitter, and they're probably going to lose Danny Green to free agency because they can't afford to pay him. They can't pay Marco Bellinelli. They can't pay these guys and go get a Marc Gasol or a LaMarcus Aldridge and keep Duncan. So they're going to have to really cobble this thing down.
Yeah, well, I don't feel bad for them either. I mean, but the thing about the Spurs is like they always find somebody.
Right. They're very good. Some teams are just good at managing their cap. And Mark Cuban's good at that.
Right.
Mark Cuban, some owners are not that hands-on. They're absentee owners where they let the guy. Mark Cuban's very hands-on. And
he understands
He manipulates his team as he should. He has a GM, Donnie Nelson,
right,
who's Don Nelson's kid. And they work together very closely. And they work, and so some teams are really good at cap management.
Right.
Some teams are not. The Knicks have not been a good team at cap management. No. But now that's what Phil Jackson's doing. He's saying we're going to dump off all this junk. We're going to bite the bullet and stink it up for a year or two. And then when we get to our cap room, then we're going to start on this 3-year plan. Now, everyone hopes that the 3-year plan takes 1 year. Maybe it takes 2 years.
Maybe 2 years. I'd like to be having a discussion with you in 2 years that the Knicks, this could be their year. It ain't going to be next year.
No.
Lance Stevenson, now he comes to the Clippers. Now you got rid of one guy who's a little wacky. Maybe put him on a little mental stabilizer. Barnes showed up, hit big shots, brings that toughness, and you got a total X factor in Lance Stevenson. And not only is he an X factor, it's an X factor in Hollywood, California.
Right.
What's the word on this on him coming to town?
I like it. And when Lance was in Indiana and he became a free agent, I said I wouldn't touch him. Okay, and if he's your 1, 2, or 3 best player, now you got a problem. Because in Indiana, they had Paul George, they had Hibbert playing well, they had David West, they had other guys. And so he was a role player who killed it, right? He played great. He
like a J.R. Smith type.
Exactly.
A wild card.
Right. He is a wild card, but he's a little bit more reliable and dependable than J.R. Smith. He can't shoot as well. That's the problem. Is Stevenson
he plays tough D.
He's a very much better.
He's an agitator.
He's got a little bit of Artest in him.
Yes.
And not Meta World Peace. I'm talking about old school Artest.
No, he's good.
And so on the Clippers, where you've got the vets, you got a good coach, and he's got to prove himself to get paid again, right? So that's a big factor.
What's he going to get this year?
He's getting about $9 million, all right? But he's got a 2-year deal, but the second year isn't guaranteed. So he's got to earn that extra money, right? So yeah, he's $9 million flat, and then the year after 9.4 for 16-17. But the Clippers can opt out of that and say never mind.
So if you come here and act like a fucking nut job,
right? They got rid of Spencer Hawes, who was a terrible fit, right? Decent guy, just was terrible fit for them. I'm online and I answer questions,
right?
And I'm very active on Twitter, social media, emails,
at
whatever.
Eric Pincus,
EricPincus. I'm happy to take questions, especially salary cap questions. People ask me all the time, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Well, it's not legal. There's information to be had. Go to the CBAFAQ.com and you'll learn something about it. And it's complicated. It's impossible to know it all. And I write for BasketballInsiders.com. If you actually check out the salary pages, I do a page on every single team.
Right.
But it's learnable. It's not crazy. And I'm happy to answer any questions along the way. Hit me up. And we'll try to make sense of it. It's complicated, but everything has an answer.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Eric.
Anytime.
All right. The I Am Rapaport podcast is sponsored by Casper Mattresses. Casper.com. It's an award-winning sleep startup. Go to Casper.com, $50 off purchase of any size mattress. Put in the code Rapaport, RAPAPORT, Casper Mattress in New York City. You could keep the bed for 100 nights. You could get your freak on for 100 nights. If you do not like the bed after 100 nights, you can return the mattress within 100 days. That's a guarantee. The bed will be delivered between 2 to 5 days anywhere in the United States and Canada. Same day delivery in New York City. We do not plug, we do not support, we do not take sponsorship from anything we have not tried and we are not passionate about 450%.